What's up YouTube? I'm Legacy and today I'm going to tell you the story of Dear David. Alright, so the story of Dear David goes back to 2017. A Twitter thread had went up from a dude named Adam saying that there was a child haunting his apartment that was trying to kill him. He told how the kid had appeared to him in several dreams. The first time he saw him, he was experiencing sleep paralysis and he saw the child at the edge of the bed sitting in a chair just staring at him. He said that the child had a weird misshapen head, and after a while the child just sitting at the bed staring at him, that he had climbed out of the chair and started like hobbling towards him, and it was like a limpish walk. Due to the sleep paralysis, he was terrified and he wasn't able to move, and the child just kept getting closer and closer to him until it was like inches away from him. As soon as the child got within like a couple feet of him, he jolted awake screaming. He tried not to think too much about it until a couple days later he had another dream of him being in a library and a little girl coming up to him and said, "You have met Dear David." And he said, "You know who?" And she said, "Mike Jones." No, I'm just kidding. She said, "Dear David, you can ask him 2 questions but never ask him a 3rd one, because whoever asks him a 3rd one, he kills." The dream stuck with him, and he was just like kind of worried about it, and it was kind of always on his mind. A couple days later, he experienced the same sleep paralysis, but it was kind of different this time. He was a little more alert and able to like move his hands a little bit. But again, he saw David sitting in the chair at the foot of his bed. Not really being able to move, he tried to mutter out as best as he could his first question. Saying, "Dear David, how did you die?" And the child spoke back, "An accident in a store." And he said, "Dear David, what happened at the store?" And David replied in a sinister tone, "Somebody pushed a shelf onto me." Being frozen with fear and still not able to move, he asked David, "Who pushed the shelf on you?" David didn't respond. The next day he spent researching any children who may have gotten hurt in a store with that name, but nothing really turned up out of it. Soon after this, he says that the apartment above him, opened up and it had more space, so he moved into that one and things kind of just quieted down for a little bit. A couple months go by and he completely forgets all about David. And then out of nowhere he kind of just started having dreams again of David dragging him through a warehouse by the arm. And with David being a child, he's just wondering the whole time, where does he get the strength from, After these dreams, things just started getting creepy around the new apartment. His cats would gather at the door every night at exactly midnight, pawing at it and meowing like there was something on the other side that was, trying to get in or something like that, or something they were trying to play with. Every night he passed by the door, he got a weird feeling, and it kind of just freaked him out. He felt like somebody was on the outside just kind of looking in at him. The cats gathering at the door every night started to freak him out, so he started taking pictures through the peephole. So after taking the pictures through the peephole, he compared them side by side, and in one of the pictures he says that it looks like you can see something hiding at the bottom corner of the screen. Being freaked out, he opened the door and he checked, but there was nothing there. He turned the light on, nothing. So he closed the door and he locked it, and then he, kind of went back to his room kind of freaked out. Things went on the next couple of months, pretty eventless, but he did install a motion sensor camera that takes pictures every time motion, gets caught on there, and also a regular pet cam also. One of the weeks he was going over the feed from the previous week, and he had noticed something odd. He states that he noticed his cats acting a bit strange, but the video captures a little more than just the cats acting strange. He also filmed one of his cats interacting with something that didn't seem to be there. He states that after all the activity, he can't help but feeling like somebody or something had made its way into his apartment. Soon after, he starts another thread about how David had appeared to him in a dream again. It was almost the same dream, but instead of David sitting at the edge of the bed in a chair, he was sitting at the edge of a recliner this time, just staring at him. He was undergoing the same sleep paralysis and wasn't able to move, but he was able to move his hands a little bit more this time. Being full of fear and already know what was coming, he did the best he could to move his hand around, and he slept with his phone next to him in case of situations like this. So he started snapping pictures. Slowly, David began to crawl out of the chair and start walking towards him. While doing this, he's doing his best to take pictures, even being in his sleep paralysis state. He's blindly snapping in the dark at something he can only see and doesn't know if the camera's picking any of it up. With the flash going off, he just sees David coming closer and closer and closer like a strobe light. Soon David got face to face with them. His eyes rolled back, turning completely white, and he was muttering something intelligible that the guy couldn't understand. Adam was suddenly jolted awake and there was no sign of David whatsoever. But it was daytime and he concluded that the dream was nothing but a dream. So he went on about his daily responsibilities for the next couple days. A couple days later, forgetting all about the encounter that he had with David, he starts going through his phone and he realizes that he caught several pictures. He noticed something that freaked him out. Most of the pictures were just black, although some of the photos came out with something other than a black screen. He stated that he didn't know what was going on and he was afraid just to sleep in his own home. He takes a small trip out of the country to get his mind right and just kind of get away for a little bit. Upon coming back home about a month later, he states that everything kind of went back to normal. The cats are acting their usual self with nothing really too out of the ordinary. During this peaceful time, he explains how he has a friend come over and bless the apartment for him. And everything went good for a couple of weeks. He just kept going about his daily activities, going to work and doing what he does. Until one night while he was watching TV, his cats were gathered around the window and they just kept meowing. He assumed his cats were hungry and began pouring them food bowls. When he glanced outside, he noticed something. The view from his apartment is the view of the roof. He can see the whole top of the roof, but he doesn't have access to it. After thinking he noticed something, he quickly cut off the lights and grabbed his camera. He swears he caught something standing at the bottom of the roof, but what do you think? He took a second photo to try to get a clearer one, but he didn't see anything in that one. Being afraid, he was right back to square one. He drank his fear away and passed out for the night. A couple months passed with him talking about small things happening, such as the electricity and doors opening and stuff by themselves. A couple of days later, he starts talking about weird noises he's hearing coming from the roof. He didn't really understand where the noises were coming from because it was only a 2-story apartment and he lived on the 2nd story. Above him was the roof. Hearing all the noises and it being so late, he decided that he'd wait until the morning to go investigate. He woke up the next morning to hearing loud crashes that sounded like something was repeatedly dropping above him on the ceiling. He began walking down the stairs when he felt something crunch under his feet, something like debris, and when that happened, he looked up and he found a hatch. The hatch being quite a ways off the floor, he went and grabbed a long pole and he started poking at the hatch. When he poked at the hatch, something had fell out of it. He freaked out, he didn't know what it was. He almost drops the pole and he goes back and grabs his phone so he could take a picture of what had fell. It appeared to be a small shoe. He had told his landlord about it and he told him that, he thought there was something in that crawl space. So his landlord agreed to bring a ladder over and they'd check it out together. So when the landlord comes, he brings his ladder and they go up there, but all they find is a small marble. How it got there they don't know because the hatch is so high off the ground. The landlord didn't really seem bothered by it, but he gave the dude the marble and he kept the shoe also. So things again quieted down for a little bit, but he began sleeping in the living room because he didn't feel comfortable sleeping in his own room. As usual, he had his pet cam running all night, taking still photos of anything that moved. Most of the photos are of him and his cats sleeping or doing the usual activities. But there are a couple that absolutely chilled him to his core. Throughout the photos, the child was back in various positions, crawling back towards him, eventually appearing right next to him on the bed, standing merely inches away from him. After the photo of him staring down at him, the camera just kind of stops taking pictures for a couple of hours until it takes this one. After seeing this, the dude is completely drained, like emotionally and physically. So he takes a short out-of-state vacation to go visit his parents to, just kind of relieve some of the stress that he was having. While out of the state, he talks about how he never really thought about moving because he thought David would just follow him. But on his time out, he noticed that things were going peaceful and they were seemingly back to normal. So he starts looking at different apartment buildings with the feeling that David was attached to the apartment and not him. After he started looking for apartments, it seems like things just started happening again. He started feeling uneasy and he started catching things moving out of the corner of his eye. One of the nights while he was using the restroom, he noticed something standing outside. Being smart and not wanting to walk outside to check it out because it was nighttime, he waited till the next day and then he went out to investigate. When he woke up to go check it out, he noticed there were small footprints in the snow heading back behind a shed. And then they kept going, so he followed the footprints. And there's a ditch behind the shed that the footprints kind of just disappear off into. The rest of his time there, he kind of just stayed in the house, fearful that David was following him no matter where he went. He flew back to his town and went back to his small apartment. As soon as he made his way back to his apartment, he settled in, again feeling that same feeling like somebody was watching him from different corners of the room and like he wasn't alone. He talks about one night where he feels absolutely terrible, just feeling sick, and he has a terrifying dream of David hovering on the ceiling above him, just staring at him. And David's just mouthing unintelligible words, staring at him until he plummets straight into the dude's chest. After David plummets into the guy's chest, the guy wakes up and he's screaming, he's out of breath and he can't breathe. And he's hyperventilating, he doesn't know what to do. Frantically searching for his phone, he checked the frame feed, and this was the last photo taken before he woke up. A couple of days later, a post goes up saying that he wasn't really sure if he was going to post about David again. Mostly because he was feeling better, activity stopped around the house, and he just felt more comfortable. He said basically everything just stopped. He was feeling better, he was sleeping through the night, but he said he was feeling a little weird at the same time and he couldn't understand what it was. After this tweet, he never really talks about David again. He just goes on about what he usually tweets about. Do you think David might still be haunting him to this day? I don't know. Well, that's the end of the story, YouTube. Thanks for hanging out with me. Live, laugh, leave a legacy, and if you liked the video, leave a like. Thanks, have a great day.